Please excuse a short advertisement before I proceed. I am offering an audio course in conservation biology. Details are at the link in the description. I'm accused daily of being a paranoid conspiracy theorist, and yet every day I receive nonsense from. Here's an example from among many, replete as usual with errors in spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Quote, "Guy, I'm beginning to wonder about the Ukraine crisis and how this fits into the wider agenda. From what I've seen, the Ukraine crisis is as exaggerated as COVID. While it's true that many people have died as a result of both COVID and Ukraine, nowhere near as many people have actually died as being claimed by either of them. However, if they let Ukraine turn into World War III, then they'll have a simple answer to depopulation. The world's governments know that climate change will decimate humanity, but that would be highly embarrassing for them since it was they who allowed it to happen in the first place. However, get World War III cooking and bingo. This would cause a comparable apocalypse as climate change, but people would then believe that their demise was from World War III instead of climate change, even though both were responsible. The global supply chain is now so complex that a war with either Russia or China would collapse both the global economy and the global supply chain, causing most people to die of food shortage-related problems, and only the lucky few would be killed by the war. Most people would then believe that if it hadn't been for World War III, then everything would be fine. I sincerely hope I'm wrong about this. Although if I'm correct, then at least I have a reasonable chance of a quick death without needing to kill myself. I tried to kill myself on several occasions before due to depression, but I failed miserably. But I'm not prepared to die of starvation, which is in the cards right now as things stand, so I'm prepared to make a nitrogen suicide chamber if I have to. This may be a grim subject for discussion, but I would value your views on my analysis." End quote. Oh my goodness, so much to say, so little time. A favorite trick among the nonsensical promoters of the idea of degrowth is to call it depopulation instead. These silly fools incorrectly believe that there are enormous advantages to be realized by financially wealthy folks simply by getting rid of the majority of useless eaters, as they call them. I did not respond in a meaningful manner to the aforementioned email message. I don't have time to respond to each of the ridiculous messages I receive, which number in the hundreds each day. Had I responded individually instead of here, I would have taken time out of my busy day by writing something like this. By degrowth, I assume you mean shrinking. Yes, we already have a word for degrowth, so we need not make up another one. The word is shrink, which means to make smaller. People in governments around the world know that shrinking the human population has two adverse impacts. One, it eliminates the workers necessary to maintain this set of living arrangements, and therefore to sustain the great privilege of relatively few people. And two, the consequent very rapid loss of aerosol masking, about which there are peer-reviewed papers going back to 1929. Loss of aerosol masking would cause an exceedingly rapid rise in global average temperature of at least an additional 1.1 degrees Celsius, according to a recent peer-reviewed paper I've discussed earlier in this space. More about that paper shortly. The worldwide rapid rate of environmental change resulting from loss of aerosol masking would cause loss of habitat for human animals and most other life on Earth. I'm pretty sure those promoting the notion of degrowth, including Dumb Green Resistance and other like-minded organizations, are flagrantly demonstrating their ignorance, stupidity, or both when they push the demise of industrial civilization. If the rapid overheating of the planet doesn't kill us all, then the uncontrolled meltdown of the world's many nuclear facilities would do the trick. I've produced videos on both topics in this space, yet most people claiming they follow my work remain willfully ignorant about the consequences of the rapid rate of environmental change and also the stripping away of stratospheric ozone as a result of the meltdown of nuclear facilities. Either phenomenon will cause our extinction and therefore the extinction of all life on Earth, as I mentioned in this space before. A lot. I know I've been severely deplatformed. That's no excuse for you and others to ignore my work, which is dependent upon evidence produced by other scholars. To be fair, aerosol masking remains the best kept secret in climate science. For example, James Hansen and 3 colleagues published a peer-reviewed paper more than a decade ago about the aerosol masking effect. Their paper, titled Earth's Energy Imbalance and Implications, was published in Atmospheric Chemistry and Physics on December 22, 2011. At that point, about 24 papers describing aerosol masking had been published, as any so-called climate scientist writing a paper on the topic could have easily discovered. These earlier peer-reviewed papers went back to 1929, yet the 2011 paper by Hansen and 3 other scholars includes this line, quote, "Aerosol forcing is unmeasured," end quote. Later in the paper they write, quote, "Aerosol climate forcing is unmeasured," end quote. Their paper, which I long believed was the first one to assess the aerosol masking effect, describes the Faustian bargain of aerosol masking. Maintaining industrial activities increases the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which continues to ratchet up the overheating of Earth. On the other hand, decreasing industrial activity causes a stunningly rapid increase in global average temperature because cooling aerosols fall out of the atmosphere within a few days. Properly estimating the cooling impact of aerosols is critical to determine Earth's energy balance. We have a pretty good idea what it is, based on peer-reviewed evidence published since the paper by Hansen and colleagues came out on December 22, 2011. As a relevant aside, Professor James Hansen has said during many interviews and presentations that the relevant aerosols fall out of the atmosphere within 5 days. A paper in the peer-reviewed Journal of Geophysical Research Atmospheres by Hiram Levy II and 6 other scholars indicates as little as a 35% reduction in industrial activity will cause a 1 degree Celsius increase in global average temperature. The paper is titled "The Quotes of Aerosol Direct and Indirect Effects in Past and Future Climate Change," and it was published on January 18, 2013. Subsequent research indicates the conservative nature of this paper from more than 9 years ago. First, though, we need to know where we now stand. Esteemed Professor Andrew Glickson writes the following in his October 9, 2020 book, The Event Horizon. Quote, "During the Anthropocene, greenhouse gas forcing has risen by more than 2.0 watts per meter squared, equivalent to more than 2 degrees C above pre-industrial temperatures, which constitutes an abrupt event over a period not much longer than a lifetime." End quote. In other words, Earth is already more than 2°C warmer than it was at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. The latest peer-reviewed paper I've seen that estimates the aerosol masking effect was published in the peer-reviewed open access Nature Communications on June 15, 2021. Titled "Significant Underestimation of Radiative Forcing by Aerosol Cloud Interactions Derived from Satellite-Based Methods," the abstract of this paper includes this sentence, quote, "By accounting for sampling biases, the magnitude of aerosol cloud interactions increases by 55% globally, 133% over land, and 33% over ocean," end quote. In other words, loss of aerosol masking will cause temperatures to increase to at least 3.1 C globally and at least 4.6 C over land. Most of us live on land. I cannot imagine many organisms being able to survive the extremely rapid rise in temperature associated with loss of aerosol masking. To summarize, from Dana Bergstrom and 27 other authors in the peer-reviewed journal Global Change Biology on February 25, 2021, quote, "The biosphere upon which humanity depends is being altered to an unparalleled degree across all spatial scales," end quote. According to other peer-reviewed papers, humans have directly modified 77% of the land surface and 87% of oceans. Ecosystems are deteriorating globally, and species extinction rates are strongly correlated with both climate change and the human footprint. In other words, we are destroying our own home as a result of our civilized lives. Based on the aerosol masking effect, the only way to avoid destroying our own home is to greatly accelerate the process of destroying our own home by reducing industrial activity. And by the way, among those short sentences that I took from Dana Bergstrom and 27 other authors in their peer-reviewed paper in Global Change Biology, I've left out the information that they quoted for other peer-reviewed papers in reaching this conclusion. So, with respect to aerosol masking and the Faustian bargain described by Hansen and colleagues, we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. We're headed in the very near term to a planet too hot to support human life. The resulting demise of our species spells the death of all life on Earth, as I mentioned a few dozen times in this space. The phenomenon not so elegantly called either degrowth or depopulation will cause the even more rapid demise of life on Earth. How inconvenient. Again, I'm not suggesting we give up whatever that means in the face of abrupt, irreversible climate change. Rather, I suggest actions be taken. I've taken more radical actions than the next few hundred people on Earth, including abandoning enormous privilege to show the way to a brighter future. The response, as I've now come to expect, is to accuse me of being too radical, not radical enough, or radical in the wrong direction. Perhaps you'll have better luck as you try to find your way along your chosen path. Regardless, good luck to us all. More importantly than good luck to us all, I suggest right action by us all. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. Click the bell when you subscribe so you'll be notified about future videos. Become a member of this channel for additional perks at as little as 99 cents per month. Mostly though, thanks for watching.